This is my server, and it is an absolute mess. I got storage everywhere and just cables out the wazoo. Not to mention it's in a case probably older than I am. About time for an update. My old server was rocking an Intel 8500 CPU, 6 cores and only 6 threads, no multi-threading, a Seasonic 750 gold power supply, I believe these are 4 terabyte hard drives, and I had them in, I believe it was RAID 0, so it was a combined like 8 terabytes. I also had a 250 gig Samsung 860 EVO in here, as well as an AX2 from Team Group, and this is a whopping, just 1 terabyte. Also, 32 gigs of DDR4 3200. I know I bought them, they were cheap. It was like $50 for a set or something like that. Also, it's rocking my old 1060. Also, down here on the bottom, all of these blue cables that are just making a mess is a SATA expansion card. It's only there because I expected myself to have even more storage. So basically, out of this, everything that I'm going to be saving is graphics card, RAM, power supply, and storage, and 1 or 2 fans actually. Everything else here is just kind of going back away into cold storage because I am a tech hoarder and I cannot get rid of anything. Cool, let me grab my screwdriver and finish taking everything that I need out. I have stripped everything that I want out of this case. One of the back fans, GPU, RAM, expansion card, and all of the storage, except for the one on the board. Remind me to grab that one. But now I get to talk about my upgrades. Now you might be asking yourself, why an upgrade? The 8500 is actually a totally competent CPU for just a basic kind of NAS storage server. I counter that with this. I know it says it's a Ryzen 5 on the box. That is extremely misleading. In all reality, this is a 5600 box because one of my friends upgraded from a 3600 to a 5600X and had their original 3600 lying around. Originally, I was going to pay probably, I think it was either 20 or 40 bucks for it, which is a complete steal when this is a totally competent CPU. But I ended up actually getting it for free because it was just kind of sitting around and he didn't want it anymore. So going from 6 cores, 6 threads at a pretty bog standard boost clock and standard clock to 6 core 12 thread at a slightly higher and hotter CPU was totally worth it for me. I'm also a hoarder and I want to see numbers get bigger. And yes, he did actually include the stock cooler that came with his 5600X, but I'm not going to be using it because I have a couple of other quality of life changes for the server in general. When picking the rest of the parts for the upgrade, I had no idea that I was actually going to have the stock cooler. So I went out and I just bought a cheap ass cooler off of Amazon. I think it was like 20 bucks. I'll put the price up in the corner up here. I mean, it's a tower cooler. I don't know what to say, man. It's got a single fan, it's pretty thick. I mean, the heat pipes look good, and I like when they actually just expose the bare copper to the die, because having a sort of metal in between can limit the actual heat transfer in between the two. So it's actually nice to see just a copper base down here on the bottom. Another change that I made was actually motherboard. Originally, I wanted a full ATX board, which is what I had in there. That was like an H390 board, or an X390, I can't remember. During the upgrade, I wanted my tower to not weigh 50 pounds like that one did. So I ended up actually going down a standard to just regular MATX. ASUS was a great option at a budget price point. Now, this thing was actually pretty cheap. I think the price was around 79, 80 bucks. Again, I'll put that up in the corner. It has everything that I wanted. I think its maximum memory capacity is either, I think it's 128 gigs. It also supports AM4 completely. It is a, what is this, a B450? Yes, B450 chipset, so not a whole lot of overclocking, but totally worth it. I will show you the case then as well, but I just don't have the space for it right here. I ended up buying a Lian Li LandCool 205M mesh in black because I didn't want it to be fancy, but I still wanted it to look kind of nice when you looked at it. Now, normally the case is actually roughly $80. I was able to get mine off of Amazon, used through one of their, I believe it was one of their Amazon warehouses. For before tax, it was $69.49, so I saved a solid 10 bucks on just the case alone, buying a used one with minimal damage at best. So we're balling on a budget for an extremely decent NAS server. Let's get to putting everything together. The next step is going to be the cooler, which I am totally going to fast forward through because I suck at installing coolers, and I'm totally going to have to read the instructions. Okay, so as it turns out, I lost the AM4 mounting for this cooler. Quite an absolute genius move, I know, but the backing plate and the actual mounting hardware do not match up to AM4 like at all. Genius, you know, my intellect. It's almost frightening, but that's good news-ish. I should say that the good news is that we do have a stock cooler that we can use. Grab our 2 pieces of cheapo RAM, stick them back in here. Now that our motherboard is populated, it's about high time we grab our case and start filling that up too. Little secret, this server runs 24/7, hosting Steam games, video files, all sorts of stuff. So I'm not going to be using the RGB on these fans, just using them as regular fans. I feel like I should give you all my reasoning for actually choosing this case. Well, for one, it's an M-ATX case that has space for a full ATX power supply, which I already had, and has space for 2 hard drives. A lot of these cases anymore only have space for like M.2 SSDs, well, on the motherboard obviously, or 2.5-inch SATA SSDs, which normally not a big deal. Okay, I have those, I have this, I have that, but I already have like 8 terabytes worth of hard drive storage that is relatively brand new. It's probably a year or so old. I don't want to lose that because that is a lot of storage and a decent chunk of change that I don't feel like forfeiting just to get a cooler looking case. Drive cage successfully out. Now, there are spots for 2 full-size hard drives, one of which goes in the bottom of the rack here, and I believe the other one is going to mount to the top of the rack, which I will populate with my drives now. Drive cage populated, and holy crap, is it heavy as heck. These Seagate Iron Wolf NAS drives are pretty freaking heavy, man. Throw the drive cage back in, and we'll go from there. We do also have spots for the 2 SSDs that I have. I was not planning on this, but it's actually really cool that I have spots for them. So let me put the little rubbers on the back pieces here, and we'll get these bad boys slotted in place. Boom, donezo. I'm actually shocked that I decided to put all 4 mounts in both of these drives. I'm surprised I didn't stop at 2 or 3. Everything else from here on out is just gonna be cable management, which I'm gonna spare you the details on that. We're just gonna come back when I have all these cables plugged in and stuff, because it's just easier for me to do it without recording it. So we'll be back when this thing is all back together, and then we should be able to go over software. All right, cable management is all wrapped up. I'm gonna go ahead and install Windows onto it and show you guys some software that I use and how that I actually use my storage server. Okay, now we're at the desktop and I have Windows installed. I believe I went with Windows 11 Pro Education Edition, but now that we're remoted in, a few things. First, I'm just using remote desktop connection, which goes over your network. You have to make sure that you have like remote access. First, have that turned on, which is a big thing. It stumped me for a while. Also, the PC name oftentimes is just like desktop and then like a bunch of letters or numbers behind it, like mine was, which is why I'm like, man, why can't I connect to this with remote desktop connection? That's why I had to rename the computer to something that I could easily remember and also turn on remote desktop connection. For the rest of my setup, I'm actually going to be following a PC optimization guide made by my friend and fellow YouTuber Alpine. I will warn you that there is a section in here about like Atlas OS and also other custom ISOs. I will leave that up up to you, up to your discretion, just because I know some people are kind of sketchy about them because realistically people can put whatever they want in there. A good number of the ISOs don't actually have anything in them or have been scanned, so just stick to something popular. Basic rundown of this optimization guide is mainly drivers. Drivers are hugely important when it comes to making sure your PC runs well. There are a bunch of hyperlinks and stuff to other drivers and such, so it is a really well put together guide. But if you have anything else that you think should be added to the guide, honestly, let me know. I'll have a chat with him and we should be able to update this. NV Clean Install is mainly for NVIDIA GPUs, which I have a 1016 here, so I've already gone ahead and done this. There's also an optimizer tool that helps honestly just plainly optimize everything, and you can also use it to download common apps like your net frameworks, DirectX, also Steam. I'll show you that later as well. Otherwise, I will have a link to this in the description. It is fully free for you to just take a look and use, and it goes through installing Windows and everything, media creation tool, downloading all your drivers and such. So it's a really good tool for beginners and anybody who just wants to set up PCs quickly. My next steps are going to be actually installing drivers and stuff, so I'm going to skip that for now just because it is very time consuming. Downloading motherboard, CPU drivers, Wi-Fi drivers, Bluetooth, all that. I'm going to just skip ahead to the point where all my drivers are installed, and we'll go from there. It looks like Optimizer got a tad bit of an update since the guide was made, so I just went through. You are going to want to try and get your Optimizer to look similar to mine. We want to optimize performance, network, disable sticky keys, disable super fetch, all of the telemetry, and then also telemetry tasks. Now this is all going to be under the general option. This is right after you download Optimizer. This is what's going to pop up. We're going to want to come over to Windows 11. There's a couple more options here than there are on the guide actually. So it turns out they added buttons for, it looks like, taskbar weather and taskbar search. So if you don't like having weather or search bar on the bottom, you can turn those off. Personally, I don't like the search bar. Also, disable my people, long paths, and TPM check, or enable long paths and disable TPM check. Then under Windows Update, disable insider service. The taskbar alignment is honestly personal preference. I prefer it to the left. Honestly, you can leave it off if you want the middle taskbar on Windows 11, up to you. Also disabling widgets, chat, and stickers. All telemetry services, Cortana. Enable or enhance privacy. Disable news, start menu ads, edge telemetry, and edge discover. Disable game bar. Disable Windows Ink, and disable Copilot AI. You can come over to apps. You want to actually turn on all of the net frameworks, just because you need them. If you want 7-zip, I want 7-zip, so I'm going to download it. Personally, need Discord on my server, but here you could download Discord, Google, or Brave, or Mozilla Firefox. Or Epic Games. I want Steam because I also use this as a game hosting server. Anything for coding or video and sound, you can choose any of them as well. Click through the rest of these, just see if there's anything else that you really want. Click install after downloading for all of these, and then hit the download. Set your download folder first to your downloads folder, and then click download. After you download all of the net frameworks and also Steam, it's going to automatically install them. So I believe all we need to do right away is a quick Windows restart. All right, now that the server's back online, now that we're logged into Steam, we're gonna go ahead and go to settings. We're gonna wanna go our way down to storage. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna be using the 230 or the 250 gig SSD as its own Steam storage, and then I'm also going to add the 8 terabytes of storage that I have also for Steam games. Now the 1 terabyte SSD is going to be mainly for footage storage for me. I am also going to add the 1 terabyte. I got them all set up for Steam folders here. Majority of my games are going to be downloaded onto just the normal NAS. Okay, so I'm going to show you actually how I use my storage server. Now, mainly I use it for game storage and also footage storage. Game storage is actually handled through Steam. As you can see, my main desktop has BeamNG already downloaded, but if I put it to this computer, I can hit install. I'm going to put this on the 250 gig SSD, accept the EULA, and instead of actually downloading the game, it's going to transfer the game over the network, which is super cool because this works for me because a game that is, 50 gigs is going to take maybe 15 minutes. It is awesome. I use this, I download any game that I think I want to play onto my server, and then I can just transfer it onto my main PC at any point in time. So this way I don't exactly have to worry about having a crap ton of storage on my main computer or any of my other computers, like the one at my sim racing rig or my media center. Another cool feature with Steam network sharing is game updates. My server runs 24/7 up on a shelf. So anytime a update gets released for a game or anything, the server automatically updates the games. So when I go to play one of the main games on one of my other computers, instead of having to sit there and download and apply the update, the server already has it updated and it transfers the updated game files over to your main PC. So a game notorious for big updates like the finals, I've seen them go up as high as like 10 gigs. That game is notorious for large updates, but with the server just automatically does the updates in the background, and then when I want to play the finals on my main PC, it's like a 5-minute wait time for a giant update. I basically get up, go get a drink, come back, and I can play the game. It is absolutely awesome. But while BeamNG is transferring, I figured that I can show you guys file sharing. The easiest way to do that is to go to your NAS or whichever drive you want to use as your main bulk storage, and just create a new folder and name it either NAS or network storage or network sharing, anything like that. So what you're going to want to do is after you've created your folder, you're going to want to right click, go to properties. You're going to want to go to sharing, advanced sharing, add it to NAS, and what you're going to want to do is click on permissions, and everyone, you want to just set it to read and change. That allows people to add and also take things out. There is a more complicated way to set this up with special permissions, but I don't have anybody else on my network looking to get into these folders, plus you do need the file path anyhow, so I don't think anybody's going to be looking for it, and if they are, I have nothing on here to hide. So after you have that all set up, what you can do is anything that you put in here, I already have a content warning clip in here just because it was something quick I could find on my desktop. Anything that you add into this NAS folder is available, don't mind my messy desktop, on your main PC as well, or any other PC that's connected that has this NAS folder. I also like to have mine pinned just because it's easier to find that way and you don't have to forget it. So now anything that you put into this folder is actually shown on your NAS. Anything, period. It is completely awesome, especially when you have an absolute crap ton of storage. The max Windows shows is 7.27 terabytes just because there's an issue with it reading, but as you can see, it is actually 8 terabytes. I don't think there's really anything else to setting up this specific server. If you have any more general PC questions, go ahead and ask me. The worst I can say is I'm not sure, Google it. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and leave me a like. I mean, it's greatly appreciated. Otherwise, that's it for me. Thank you for watching and have a good one.